now it's time for illuminating discussion on today's trending topics. It's Just Us with Portia Bright.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in today for Just Us with Portia Bright. I'd like to especially thank my guest, Reverend Dr. Wendy LeMay, for joining us today. Thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
I know. We always have a good time once we get together. Anyway.
This has to stay G-rated now. So.
Indeed. Now, for our viewers that are watching, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Wendy LeMay. I'm a candidate in Johnston County, North Carolina, for the county commission seat. I'm a Democrat. I'm a progressive. I'm a grandma. Can't imagine I actually just said that, did you? Yep, I got 2 brand new grandkids.
Ooh.
Yep, David and Aaron, and they're my pride and joy.
I'm sure you have got them involved into the campaign already?
Well, they're still a little young to go knocking on doors. They live up in Virginia, so but they are my pride and joy. And I'm working really hard in Johnston County to bring a voice to the table. Because you know my philosophy, and I know you know it quite well,
yes,
that if you are not sitting at the table, you're most likely going to be on the menu.
And we definitely don't want that.
Honey, listen, I don't think anybody wants to eat this old meat.
Indeed. Now, let's jump right into this. Now, from a historic perspective, what was one of your motivators for actually deciding to run for office?
Well, you know, most people think it's because I'm LGBT, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's because I'm a Democrat. And I believe in equality. And right now, the Johnston County Board of Commissioners is made up of 7 people, all who happen to be of the Republican Party, all who happen to be white, and 6 of them happen to be male. So I came into this race to bring a voice to the poor and the middle class, to the minorities. I don't look like a minority, do I?
Well, somewhat. Let me think about it.
Well, my hair sure does. I'm going to tell you, my poor hair. I have Native American hair. I've got about 6% of my family history is Native American.
Wow.
So I am a minority, not only because I'm LGBT, which makes me a minority.
Yeah.
I'm the first trans person, the first gender fluid is the better word, to run in Eastern North Carolina. But they're all issues that come after who I am. I'm a farmer. I'm a veteran. U.S. Army peacetime, 100% disabled veteran.
Wow.
I'm a public servant. I've been involved serving the public since I was 12 years old, when I became the first youngest American CPR instructor in America. Firefighter, EMT. I've been involved in the community. I'm a civil rights advocate.
Wow.
You have to be.
Well, you're kind of like the Jackie of all trades.
Jackie of all trades.
Yes, I love that. Now, being that you've been on the forefront, what are some issues that are plaguing Johnston County right now that you feel you can turn around?
One of the biggest things that is plaguing Johnston County has to be the inequality. Our kids, if they go to school in Clayton, North Carolina, which is in a viewing area, or Benson, North Carolina, you may get a different education. All our schools are not on the same playing field. So without equality, we can't go on to my other 3 E's. I know. What are my other 3 E's?
Please get into that, because I know our viewers want to know about Wendy's 3 E's. And please, if you're watching, get a pen and piece of paper, because they are juicy.
They are juicy. But really and truthfully, it's really what affects the poor and the middle class. And that is the equality in our education system, in which then leads to our equality in our economy. And of course, being Native American, we have to have equality in our environment, and we must protect Mother Earth, because if we don't take care of it now, we're leaving the next 7 generations worse off than we are.
Oh yeah.
And we can't have that.
We definitely
we can't have people working for minimum wage when the cost of living in our county is higher than minimum wage. That's why people, especially, you know, Johnston County is kind of a diverse county. It's very rich on one side and very poor on another. But the side that runs along Interstate 95 is a service industry. And that means people are waiting tables for $2.13 an hour. And they're waiting tables hoping and praying that someone tips them.
Yeah.
But the inequality there is that the businesses that own those restaurants are taxing these people like they're getting tips. That's wrong.
That's very wrong.
You know, it's really almost like slavery. And in Johnston County, that's a dangerous word. You know that.
Dangerous.
I mean, that's a county that's, even though we're in the 21st century, some of their thinking is not quite yet in the 21st century.
Indeed. Now, I know you mentioned this slogan. This is one of your slogans. A strong economy does not mean jobs.
Absolutely.
Please elaborate on that.
Well, first of all, Johnston County is just east of Wake County and just into the Triangle area, Research Triangle Park. So we must look at our economy as if we are part of that. And a job is just over broke.
Oh, yeah.
Just think about that.
Very much so.
Just over broke. And who wants to keep you just over broke? Well, the people right now that are in control and power in this state. We know that because of the way the governor and members of the House and members of the Senate act. We need to keep you just over broke. So the economy means a career. It means more than just coming to a 9 to 5 or 10 to 3 job. Because if we don't change that now, and that means equality, teaching our youngins to be better educated, getting them ready to go to school, ready to go to college, so that they're on an equal playing field. That's all part about it. You know, in part, I think one of the biggest issues that I see is that we're not preparing the next generation. And that's an issue.
That is a big issue, and I was actually just talking to one of my coworkers about that, because it seems that the people that are in power, they do not want to let go, and it's important that we spread some of that knowledge over and transfer it over to younger people so they can get involved. But you get a lot of times you get young people who don't want to get involved because they're discouraged by older people. Like, what is going on with
Well,
that?
I'll tell you something that's funny talking about that. You know, we have a House race coming this November, as well as the County Commissioner, Board of Education, and right all the way up to the White House. But we have Rich Nixon. Rich Nixon is a school teacher. He's from Clayton, and his father and mother were school teachers. So he really has his hands on education. Well, he's got a young group of high school and college students working for him. Okay?
That's smart.
They're out knocking on doors, and they're talking to people, and they're showing up at events. But yet, he also has a group of 60 and 70-year-olds.
Diversifying.
You know, and 50-year-olds along the way. Because Rich Nixon, just like me, we stand for the people. I want to be a commissioner for all. All.
I like that.
Not a commissioner for the few, not a commissioner for the rich, not a commissioner just for the poor. I want to be a commissioner for Johnston County for all the people.
Interesting. Now, I want to back up for a second. Now, hopefully our next president, Hillary Clinton, released Tuesday that if she's elected, she plans on quadrupling tax deductions and introducing an optional standard tax deduction for small businesses that she says will make it cheaper and faster to file taxes. How much of an impact would that have on Johnston County?
Well, anytime you're going to bring business, and small business is actually what Johnston County was made of. Let me tell you a little history, just for you know. Rural county, Johnston County, relied very heavily on the rail so that the farmers could bring their product to places like Clayton, Micro, Four Oaks, Benson. All of these, Princeton, all of these little towns were founded along the railroad, Selma. Why? Because they could, as small businessmen, farmers, could bring their product to the railroad and get it out to everybody. So Johnston County was built directly on small businesses. So when you make it easier for a small business to start by giving them incentives, they then have a better chance of starting and keeping people employed. Because no small business can do it by themselves.
That's true.
So a small business is much better to me than a big corporation. Big corporations, they come in, put their little things in, do whatever they call themselves, raise up a building, but they don't care because they don't live in that environment. Now, I'm also a union person.
Yeah.
So I want to see manufacturing coming back, but I want to see quality, livable wage manufacturing coming. One of my big issues also is the economy. I mean, without equality, you can't have a good economy.
Indeed. So what does disparity actually look like in Johnston County right now? Can you describe it for us?
Well, you have people making in the pharmaceutical industries, making in the Clayton area, making a very good livable wage. But yet you have people working over in Four Oaks and Benson and Micro and Kinley, Smithfield and Selma for just above minimum wage. That's an issue.
This is a big issue. Now, in terms of the percentages, what percentage of the community are Black, white, Hispanic, and able to vote in Johnston County? And how do you feel that will impact the election?
Well, I'll tell you one thing is, I was just recently talking to someone about who can vote in Johnston County. We have about 141,000 people who can vote in Johnston County. Almost all of them are registered too. About 80% are registered. We have 78% Caucasian. Okay? And the problem that most people don't want to talk about is the remaining amount. Because you know the remaining amount are the people who usually are left behind. African American, people like the Native Americans, the Hispanics. So they make up that difference between 78% and 100%. It's a terrible thing when people look at your skin color and decide if you have a right to vote.
You did.
You know, my grandma, I loved her very much, and my great-grandma loved her even more. But just tell me stories how it was in the 1900s, 1920, how they fought to get the right for women to vote. And we just celebrated that in Johnston County by getting together the Democratic women, the Democratic men, the LGBT caucus. We all got together and took a picture on our county courthouse in remembrance of all those people who fought so that women could have that right. And think about it, not that long ago, the African American community was fighting to get a right to vote. And just recently, the Fourth Circuit Court overturned North Carolina's Jim Crow law of photo identification, because you know who that was that was targeted at my communities.
Oh, indeed it was.
That was targeted to Native American, the African American, the poor, the middle class, the people that don't have things like in Johnston County transportation. So you talk about trying to get a job. Well, it's great to get a job, but if you can't get there because you don't have a car, that job ain't doing you any good.
No good.
It's not doing me any good. It's not doing my economy any good. So getting back to that statement that I made, it's more than about a job, because a job is just over broke. And our county is already broke.
Indeed. Now, you mentioned that primarily, it seems like the Republicans are in control in Johnston County.
Of course they are.
Now, of course, being that you're a Democrat, how do you feel that you can represent all of your constituents in the area and actually create equal opportunity?
Well, it's really easy because A, I'm not just a Democrat, I'm a progressive Democrat. I believe in the 4 E's: equality, education, the economy, and the environment. There's no one in Johnston County that can go and say to me, or there's no one that can say, well, I can't agree with having a better economy. Or, oh my God, how could you argue about having a better environment? Education? Come on. You know, we're a state who was looked at as a state where higher education started. And now we don't even have textbooks and staplers in our schools.
Now, on that note, I'm going to need for you to say that because we're going to continue that conversation. As soon as we come back from commercial break, please do not move. We have more for you.
For 32 years, Tar Heel Auto Sales has been your choice for getting a great ride at a great price. With financing available from major banks to credit rebuilding and a first-time buyer's plan, Tar Heel's no-haggle pricing makes sure you not only get the best price, but the best price the first time. Plenty of late model cars available, still with the manufacturer's warranty.
You want a good deal, come to Tar Heel. 4595 Sunset Avenue. And we want your business.
Flowers by my bed.
Pandora jewelry isn't just jewelry.
This morning you're in my head.
It's I love you in silver and gold. A feeling she'll hold close each and every day.
Get your Pandora in a Bailey's box today at Bailey's Fine Jewelry at 117 South Winstead Avenue in Rocky Mount.
Ready again as usual. Man, it's excitement in there. It's pure excitement. Exclusive stuff, exclusive blazers, straight from Sicily, Palermo. We open every day, Monday through Sunday. You come down here and we go take care of you. I don't follow the trend, I create the trend. So come to PJ's and be a trendsetter. Thank you.
The Rocky Mount Farmers Market is now open every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Come join us for locally grown fruits and vegetables, flowers, homemade breads, cakes, jams, jellies, and crafts. The Rocky Mount Farmers Market, 1006 Peachtree Street. And from now to the end of August, come out on Wednesdays as well.
Thank you for tuning back in. We are still here with Reverend Dr. Wendy LeMay as she's giving us the juice of what's going on in Johnston County. Now, back to our discussion. How do you want to be perceived by your constituents since you are representing primarily the LGBT rights?
Well, actually, I'm not. You know, the funny thing is people don't walk up to me and say, "Hi, Wendy, you're the trans lady." They don't. They say, "Hey, you're Wendy the Democrat." Because I want to unite. While we were on break, you got a telephone call.
I did.
And the person calling wanted to know why Johnston County was against CSX. Well, I'll tell you why I was against CSX.
Tell us.
2 reasons. They're simple reasons. A, equality, and B, our environment. See, if I thought CSX was going to bring great jobs and employ tons and tons of people and not take anyone's land that had been in the families for hundreds of years, I might have supported it. But they wanted to take land. And when big corporations come in and give you next to nothing, that's wrong.
Indeed.
And as a civil rights activist for 3 generations, I fought in New Jersey to keep Exxon from polluting and taking people's lands. So I have a first-hand knowledge about big corporations coming in. I welcome big corporations to Johnston County. We have some of the best drug companies in the area that have come and that are health issue companies working on changes that are going to affect the next generation. They come and they bring quality jobs, but they also protect Mother Earth. And see, in Johnston County, I kind of walked into this because I had CSX on one side of my property and I had the Atlantic Coastal Pipeline on the other.
Oh, wow.
Now, let me tell you about the Atlantic Coastal Pipeline, because if I didn't talk about that today, I'd be doing a disservice to the youth and the seniors in my community. They want to buy us. They came in with their supposed, and I'll use that magic word, community trust and made donations. So they bought our kids for $10,000. They made a donation to the summer camp program of the Boys and Girls Club. I'd say to the county commissioners, why don't you just fund that $10,000? Why did you get a big corporation to make a donation and make you look good in a picture? Because that pipeline that's coming through isn't bringing us any jobs. It's destroying the value of homes. It's destroying farms. And nobody's up there with a CSX sign like they were when they were fighting to stop CSX. CSX was also something else that other people don't want to talk about. It was a political hot issue.
Yeah.
So some people had money and they could buy legislators by making donations. And that's right, I just said it publicly. They could buy legislators. Because we have legislators who are running in this election who receive contributions from landowners to stop CSX. All the way from that of a house, all the way up to the governor's mansion.
Oh, wow.
So, you know what? I'm sorry. Most people in Johnston County can't buy protection.
And that was my next question. What is the exact per capita income in Johnston County for?
Well, you know, it depends on where you are. If you're in the western part and the northern part, it's about $48,000 a year. That includes Flowers Plantation, which is mostly retirees or people of means. That is the Clayton area, which has grown dramatically, just dramatically. Do you know what that means, dramatically? Not to underestimate that word, dramatically.
Yeah.
Because what has it done? It's grown. The Cleveland community is also dramatically grown. That means that it's put a burden on the rest of the county taxpayers to support the infrastructures which haven't been done. So now we have to do it.
Yeah.
We have to build new schools. We have to build new roads. Because all these people have just crammed into this area. So smart growth is something that I'm strongly supporting.
Oh, wow.
Because smart growth protects our environment.
Our environment.
And our education system. Because if you put kids into a school that's already overcrowded, it's like putting sardines into a can and just keep putting them in there. Guess what? They don't survive. The kids don't get the education they're supposed to get. Porto, this is something that's really important in Johnston County. We have a very diverse community. We have a community made up of a lot of veterans who aren't being protected and taken care of, a lot of senior citizens who aren't being protected and taken care of, and a lot of children who definitely are not being protected and taken care of. So our schools need to be taken care of. Our economy, we need jobs. We need quality, livable wage jobs. We have homeless veterans. I challenge anyone to ride up 42 highway by 40, Interstate 40, and not find a homeless vet.
Yeah.
Because there's tons of them. And our county commissioners, I don't know what they're doing about it.
Well, being that you are planning, hopefully, everything goes well, that you will take office after November. Sadly to say that a lot of veterans are falling through the cracks. Can you provide a snapshot into your plan to ensure that they have better access to resources?
First of all, I'm a disabled veteran. So firsthand, I understand it. I'm also a service officer. And there's federal programs and state programs out there to help these people. And we need to work with the veterans community to support each other, to get those homeless veterans and veterans who aren't getting served, service. One of the things I would love to see is the Veterans Administration put a clinic in Johnston County. Because we have to ride to Greenville or Durham
For a clinic.
for medical care, or Fayetteville. And that's a long ride.
It's a long ride, especially if you don't have transportation.
You know, and there is a clinic in Goldsboro, there's a clinic in Raleigh. But if you don't have transportation, you're relying on someone to provide that for you. And guess what we don't have in Johnston County? A public transportation system.
What?
See how all this leads in? We don't have buses. So we have JCAT, Johnston County Area Transportation. They'll pick you up if you call for an appointment a couple days ahead of time and if you qualify for the program. But you can't stand on the corner and wait for a bus.
So would you say that would be something that you're planning on?
Absolutely. I believe we need to work with Wake County, Wayne County, Wilson County, Hardwick County. We need a regional transportation system. We need a hub.
Indeed. Now I want to touch on one thing before we have to leave. Now that recently the nation's clash over the rights of transgender people has escalated sharply throughout the last few months. What steps are the LGBT community taking to ensure that the final decision from the courts are less discriminating in relations to HB2?
Well, let's look at this. HB2 is not about what bathroom a trans person uses. It is about taking away the ability of county and local government from setting non-discrimination acts and laws to protect their employees. Okay? It's nothing different than what happened in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. And the LGBT community, working with people like the NAACP, and my best minister out there, Reverend Barber.
Oh, yeah.
Who made me cry at the National Convention.
Gotta love Reverend Barber.
Okay?
I hope you're watching today.
Working with people like that is how change occurs. But also how change occurs is just like it did in the 1960s when we started electing African American politicians. And today, the LGBT community is putting people up to be candidates and supporting them. And I'm proud to say I'm a Democrat.
Wow.
Because the Democratic Party at the National Convention had 28 transgender delegates and committee members.
Wow.
Do you know how many they had at the Republican?
How many?
None.
Wow.
They only had 8 African American delegates. What does that tell you about that party?
They're not really supportive.
No. And you know what? The people who are listening, who live in Johnston County, who feel like they're not being represented, they need to reach out and cross party lines. I call for unity in this election. Because if Donald wins, I would not hesitate that the sign that was taken down in 1979, and people in Johnston County know exactly what sign I'm talking about, would be put right back up.
Well, we have to conclude on that, and I'm so glad you were with me today. I hope you will come back.
I would love to come back.
And tell our viewers how to reach out to you.
Well, they can find me on Facebook, but the best way to reach out is to visit my website, www.electwemay2016.org.
Awesome.
And I'm going to tell you this from the deepness of my heart to yours. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Oh, thank you.
Because
I appreciate it.
you really are telling people what's going on.
Amen.
You know,
Thank
and that's
you.
something that's important.
I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank my viewers for tuning in today, and I hope you'll tune in next week around the same time at 6 p.m. But before we go, of course, I always want to thank my sponsors, Pirate Protectors, and I also want to thank my dentist, Dr. Candace Eric, at Smiles at Glenwood on 601 Tucker Street in Raleigh. So if you're ever in a place and need to uplift your smile, give her a shot. Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate you.